Welcome to the bright side of 50. Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to another episode of the bright side of 50 with Carla Palmer. I'm going to try to make this quick because I think I told you guys last time it is really hot in the room that I record in, and I don't have an air conditioner. And if I put the fan on, then it gets really loud. And if I get the portable air conditioner, it gets really loud. So sometimes I do like no video, and then there are times when I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get through it and try not to sweat too much. So if you see the sweat, you know, a little sweat never hurt anybody. Okay. All right. So what I want to talk about today really quickly is serenity and peace, right? As it relates to your space, the space that you live in, the space that you spend the most time in. Well, some of us go to work every day. I happen to work from home. So it's even more important for me to make sure that my space is a space that I feel comfortable in, a space that I enjoy being in. I live in California. For those of you who don't know, I live in Los Angeles, and it is a pretty expensive city. If you look on the list of some of the most expensive places to live in the United States, California, especially San Francisco, but I'm in Los Angeles. California is pretty high on the list. It used to be one of like the top 3. I'm not sure where it is right now, but it ain't cheap to live here. Okay. And I'm not saying that in a way to boast, because I'm not living the lavish life over here. Okay. Not at all. I actually live in an apartment. I just told you I ain't got no air conditioner. Okay. So, you know, it ain't like nothing lavish, but I live in an apartment, and my apartment is my safe space. It is a space that I created that I happen to really enjoy being in. And I made it that way. I moved here to this apartment. I think it was, 2017, from another apartment that I had. We were forced to move out because the landlord she lied, but she wanted to rent out that unit. What she really wanted to do was get me out of that unit because I was in a rent control area, and I have been in that unit for 15 years. And she knew that if she got me out and paid me to move, she could recoup her money fairly quickly and charge almost twice as much for the rent there. Not twice as much, but hundreds of dollars more a month for the rent. So she paid me to move, and I moved over to this unit. And I'll tell you the story one day about how I got to this place, but it was nothing but God just like working things out for me to have this particular unit. Actually, I can tell you now. We got time, okay? Ain't nobody trying to go nowhere. We got time. You got time to sit here for a minute and listen to this story. Hopefully I can tell it in a way that is fluid and not too many ums. And let me see what happened. Wait, what? We're going to try to tell it the best way possible. If I would have known that I was going to tell that story right now, then I would have written it down so that you guys could really see how God was working it out. But let me see if I can tell you. And if I can't tell it the way that it should be told, then I will cut that part out of the episode, and I will do my own episode when I get my notes together and tell you exactly what happened. But anyway, I had to move out of that place. I didn't have a ton of time. My son was still in high school, and we had a 2-bedroom at the previous place. So I was looking for a 2-bedroom, and of course, I told you I'd been there for 15 years. So moving out of that place where I was paying pretty low rent, and then trying to find a place that was a 2-bedroom that we could afford on a nonprofit salary, because I do work in nonprofit, it was a challenge. So I was pressed for time. I was looking for all these places. And then I found a place that was near my son's school, which didn't make a whole lot of sense in hindsight. I was like, oh, I can move close to his school. But he only had like a year or two, maybe even a year left in school. So that thought process didn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, I found a place that was near his school, and it was a box. Hey, sis. Hey, I just wanted to take a moment to ask you, have you subscribed to The Bright Side of 50 with Carla Palmer? If you have not, could you please take a moment, if you like the podcast, take a moment now to hit the subscribe button so that you become a subscriber. Turn on your notifications so that you're notified when a new episode drops. Okay. Also follow me on Instagram, I am the bright side of 50 over there on Instagram too. Thank you so much. Now let you get back to the episode. When I say a box, I swear it was like 500 square feet. It was so tiny. And it was a 1-bedroom. And when I say 1-bedroom, I mean like tiny 1-bedroom, little bitty like kitchenette. And I was like, not trusting God, not being faithful. And I was going to take that place. She was like, oh, we'd really like for you to move in. Do you want to, sign it now? And I was like, let me just take some time today and I'll think about it. So in that day, I think I saw 3 places, maybe 3 places. So I saw that place, and then I saw another place down the street from where I live right now. Crazy, like literally right down the street on the next street. So I saw that place, and it was also very small. It was also 1-bedroom. Now, these places were places I was going to live with my son. It was also 1-bedroom, and it was also super tiny. There was no washer dryer unit in either of these places. And so I saw that place, and I was like, okay, maybe we'll take this one. And she was like, well, do you want to sign it right now? So like in LA, like they want you to sign really quickly. They want you to just commit really quickly. And I was like, well, let me take some time, meaning like the rest of the day, because I'd seen the other place near the school and then I'd seen this place. So then I got another call about another place that was also in the same vicinity, but across the busy street that I live on right now. So it was about like maybe a quarter of a mile away from this place. So these last 3 are all in the same area. So I go over to that place and I'm looking at it, and it's also 1-bedroom. And the reason why I keep saying 1-bedroom and the reason why I keep talking about the significance of that is because that was what I felt like I could afford on the salary that I make here in Los Angeles, and the amount that they are charging for 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments. I did not think that I was going to be able to afford, $2,700 a month for rent. Pretty high for something decent. But here I am looking at these little rinky-dink places, that are closer in what I was paying at the other place. So I see this place and I'm like, okay, we could do this. But when I got there, the person who was showing the place, the property manager, she was showing it to somebody else. So as she was showing it to somebody else and talking to that person, I'm walking around and I'm looking at it, trying to see like, okay, well, if I got this, I could put, my son in that area over there, and then I could do this to this area. And so it got time for me to start talking, and I was talking to her, and she was like, do you like the place? And I was like, yeah, I like the place. She said, could you see yourself living here? And I was like, yes, I could see myself living there. And that was that. And so I took an application and I was going to fill it out. And then she was leaving. I went to my car, right? Took the application, went to my car. And then I had to say something to her, and I forgot what it was. But I was like, oh, let me go back and say something to this woman. So as I was going back, she was getting in her car and she was leaving. And I was like, wait, I have to tell you something. And she said, okay, I'm in a hurry. I'm going over to another place about, a quarter of a mile away. Do you want to just come over there and we can talk over there? And I'm like, okay, sure. So it was this place where she was coming. So she comes over to this unit, this property. And this property has 6 units. I think it has 6 units. I should know. It has 6 units. And so she comes over, and so I'm talking to her outside, and she says, oh, okay. So I told her what I had to tell her. And then she says, well, since we're over here and there's a unit here that's for rent, it's also a 1-bedroom. Do you want to see it? And I said, well, how much is it? And she told me how much it was. And I was like, ooh, that's a lot for a 1-bedroom. I can't afford that. She was like, no, do you want to see it anyway? And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? So we go up to the unit, and it has one of those lock boxes on it. And she's trying to open it and it won't open. She's like, oh man, I really wanted you to see this. And I said, well, it's okay. It was too expensive anyway. I could actually, do the other place. And so that would be the place that I would take. I'll fill out my application. And she says, okay, no problem. And so I go back to the office. I was still working in the office at the time. I wasn't doing a hybrid model because this was pre-COVID. Now I work from home. And I fill out the application, and then she calls me and I was like, oh, hey. She said, I have some bad news. And I was like, oh, what happened? And she said, well, when you got to the other place and I was talking to that lady when you arrived, she filled out the application first and she really wants the unit. So in all fairness, I have to give the unit to her and I can't give you the unit. And I'm so bummed. I'm like, no, oh my gosh. I really thought that we were done. We were so pressed for time. I really needed that place. I only had a certain amount of time before I had to be out of the place that I was living in. And she said, well, the thing is, I do have that other unit that, we couldn't get in, but it is available. And I said, well, I know it's available, but, the way my pocketbook is set up right now, it's not looking like that's something that I could afford. And I said, would you ask the landlord if they would take X amount? She said, I don't know if she will do that, but she's a Black woman and she is an older Black woman and I can tell her about you and your son and see if something that she would consider because no one else is looking at the place right now. So I didn't really have a competitor, but it was out of my price range. So she goes and she asks the lady and the lady says, yes. The lady says yes. So I said, okay. I took the place unseen. I only saw the outside of the property. I hadn't seen the inside. And so I just took a risk. It was like, okay, I feel like God is in this in some way. I really liked the property manager. And so I was like, all right, I'll do it. And she was like, I promise it's going to be okay. And I said, okay. So then the time comes where she's in the property. I'm still working. I haven't moved out yet. They're getting it ready. And so she takes the camera around. She's in the property one day. She's taking the camera around and she's showing me the inside of the property. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Like that thing was not looking good at all. It was pretty messed up. So I don't know what the person who had lived in here before had going on, but it was not a pretty sight. And she reassured me again. She said, I'm just showing you, we're taking up the carpet. We're redoing some of the kitchen. We're going to paint. Like, I promise you, it's going to be fine. And I was like, what in the world? To myself. I didn't say it to her because I was still really grateful because I had a place to move into and it was at a price point that I could afford. And I said, okay, yeah, no problem. And so, I guess it was like a week or two. She said, okay, are you ready? You can come and see the place. And I was like, okay, I'm going to come see the place. I get over here and I was like, oh, she didn't lie. She kept her word. Oh my God. I love it. Now, this is still a 1-bedroom, but it was big. It was big. It was one of those older buildings. Now, it doesn't have air conditioner, but that's okay. We still get by. It was a 1-bedroom and they redid some of the kitchen. They painted everything. And it was just like a totally different place from what I had seen on that video that I was like mortified by. And it had a washer dryer hookup and they put a washer dryer like in there for me. Of course, I had to buy it. Actually, a friend bought it for me as a gift. A really nice friend bought me a washer dryer. And then I gave my son the bedroom, which is this room. He moved out in November. But yeah, I gave him this room. And then I took the living room space as my bedroom. And I was able to do that. Let me tell you this. I was able to do that because I am not a woman who is out in these streets bringing men home and having a bunch of company at my house. I just don't live my life like that. I don't live my life like that. I haven't lived my life like that in so many years, having sleepovers, having sex with men, my son was here. Like, I just didn't live like that. So I didn't really need a door and all of that. And it's in a place in the house where, my son would come in, but he wouldn't come all the way in without saying, hey, is it good for me to come around the corner? And I was like, yeah, no problem. So it all worked out. It all worked out beautifully. And I tell that story because I'm just so grateful. And I was so mad at myself for having such a limited faith. My faith was so small, if at all, because I was going to take these little hole in the wall places that I was looking at. I was going to cram myself up in there with my son. I was going to be completely depressed. I already know what was coming with that, but I was so desperate that I was willing to take those apartments that they were offering me. And the way that God just worked this thing out was truly incredible and so clear that he had his hand in all of this. The time that I waited, the lady that was there before me at the other place, the times that I was waiting on the other places and not signing and saying, okay, I'll take this. Let me take some time to think about it for the rest of the day. The other lady calling me that day. I'm going over to look at that apartment. She's talking to somebody else already in the kitchen. That lady fills out the application. That lady gets, the apartment. Then us coming over to this apartment and it being locked and not being able to get in. And then me, asking for a different price, getting a different price, not seeing the apartment, but trusting the lady and God that this is going to be exactly what I need. And it was exactly what I needed. Now, I wanted to tell that story just because it was kind of like in flow as I was talking about like serenity and peace and loving your space. My son lived here. We lived here, until he moved out in 2023 of November. So almost a year. And so now I have created, this is my podcast studio, which is the room where my son was. And then I've stayed in the living room, believe it or not. I've kept it as my room because it's so big and there are like all these windows. Oh, and that's another thing. These little places that I was going to take, like the first place had like, I don't even know if that sucker had a window in it at all. I don't know if it had a window in it at all, but I was going to take that. And I am a window person. I am a open the blinds kind of gal. So I was going to take that. And the other place that I saw had like one window in the front and like one little small window on the side in the kitchen. I was going to take that. Y'all, I get over here and let me tell you how many windows I have. First of all, I have 2 balconies. Hello. Your girl got 2 balconies. This is a 1-bedroom and it's an upstairs unit. I have 2 balconies. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 windows. Y'all, I got 10 windows. I was going to take a unit with 1 window. I was going to take a unit with no window. What was I thinking? This place, it's not a palace, but it's mine. And I have been able to create some peace. I have been able to get plants. I have probably like 14 plants. I have candles. I have, nice things. I have nice things and it's mine. And I really, really enjoy being home. I got bistro lights put on the patio because I like going to restaurants with bistro lights. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give me some bistro lights. So I had a guy come and hang up some bistro lights. And then I wanted a little fountain because I like the sound of water. I used to go to this place with bistro lights and a little pond and water. And I was like, I could do something like that in my house. I don't have to go out and spend money and time outside of my space. So I got a little fountain and put it on the patio. Then I got a little bistro table and I got a whole bunch of plants and I put them on the patio. Your girl is good. So when I say creating your peace, creating your serenity, set your house up, your apartment, whatever you have, wherever you live, don't matter the size, set it up to be your special place that you enjoy being at, that calls you. I was out today and I was like, oh, I can't wait to get back home, burn a candle, open some windows, listen to another sermon. I'm really on to Jennifer Toledo. Jennifer Toledo is a pastor at a church here in LA called Expressions 58. She is absolutely amazing. A powerhouse. She is a powerhouse, y'all. Check it out. She's on YouTube. She's on Spotify. Jennifer Toledo, Expressions 58 is the channel. Check her out. She's got this really good one on cultivating joy that I think you guys will really love. Okay, so check that out. But yeah, make your space your own. If you love certain scents, get the candle that is the scent that you love. Open your blinds in the morning if you have some blinds to open or curtains, whatever. Get yourself some plants and take care of them. And keep negativity out of your house. Keep negativity out of your house. Don't have a bunch of people in and out of your house. I rarely have company. If I invite you into my space, you are really my friend. If I invite you into my space, let me tell you something. I trust you. I trust your energy. I trust that your heart is in the right place. I trust that what you are going to bring into my space is going to be good things, because I don't want you leaving no negative vibes or whatever energy in my space. This is a space that is a space of peace, and it's going to stay that way. So anybody with a negative spirit, you can't come in my house. When my son was living here, I said the same thing about his friends when they were coming over. They can't be in this house. Okay. And he has really good friends, thank God. So I didn't really have to worry about any of them. But yeah, that's the episode, y'all. Set your space up to a space that you love to be in, a space that brings you joy, with things that bring you joy, and have a space for everything. Everything should have a place. If you're not wearing it anymore, take it to the Goodwill. If you're not using it anymore, give it away or take it to the Goodwill. If it's too small, take it to the Goodwill. If it's a bunch of papers all over the place, buy yourself a shredder or bag everything up, take it to Staples or Office Depot, pay for the shredding, okay? Get rid of the clutter. That is the one thing I'm telling you that will disrupt your spirit, is if you have a place that you love, but you got stuff everywhere. You can't have stuff everywhere. Everything should have a place. When you take your clothes off, put them in the laundry basket. Wash your clothes once a week. What else can I tell you? Just keep everything put away. Your books, stack them up. When you're done, put them back. Everything should have a place. And if it does, and you know where it is, and it takes you a second, just do it. Wash your dishes. Close the kitchen at night. Okay, that's going to help you keep your place peaceful. Close the kitchen at night. How do you close the kitchen down? You wash all the dishes. You put them in the dishwasher if you have a dishwasher. I don't have one. I have an older building. Whatever. I grew up washing dishes. That's not a big deal. Get you some dishwashing gloves, honey, and wash them dishes and put them away. Do not leave dirty dishes in the sink overnight. You should wake up. Okay, one of the things that I love about waking up in the morning is I wake up and everything is clean. Everything is put away, and I can just go into the kitchen, the clean kitchen with the floor that's swept and mopped and the dishes put away. I can get out my coffee and I can make my coffee, and I can sit at my table, or I can sit outside on the patio. I can drink my coffee. And if I get up early enough, I could use my bistro lights in the morning because it's still dawn, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful experience. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful to God for just blessing me with a space that I enjoy. And I'm so grateful to God for guiding me that day, in 2017 when I was struggling to find what I was going to do and what my son was going to do. But it worked out. It always works out. It always works out. We stress out about things. But being in midlife, being a woman in my 50s, like I have to think about all of the things that I've been through and all of the struggles that I've had. And, places and situations that I found myself in that has worked out. They have worked out. They always work out. And I try my best to keep God at the center of my life. And I'm doing so much better at that. I believe that I'm doing better at that. It feels like I'm doing better at that. I feel like I'm, more at peace around certain things. Now, your girl do stress out now. I do stress out. But I'm trying to do better. Just spending more time with God and walking in step with God and the Holy Spirit. So Anyway, I ain't trying to preach because Lord knows I am not a pastor. I'm still a baby Christian after all these years as a preacher's daughter. So I am not faking the funk. Okay. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you got the power of faith. I hope you got setting up your space in a way that is yours and you're happy in it and feel joy. I hope that you listen to Jennifer Toledo of Expressions 58. And I hope that you realize that decluttering and having a place for everything is going to bless your life. It's going to continue to foster joy. And that is the way that you tap into your joy reservoir, is just keeping your space tidy with everything having the place it belongs. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, guys, that was it. That was it. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you. I see y'all really liked that episode that I did on He's Separated, Not Divorced. Okay. Y'all like that episode. If you haven't listened to that episode, I suggest you go and listen to it. And I kept it real on there. I was authentic. I was truthful. And He's Separated, Not Divorced. Go listen to that episode because it seems to be pretty popular. All right, guys. I'll see you next week on The Bright Side of 50 with Carla Palmer. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.